judges and my dear friends, proceeding further against the motion. Today my burden of proof is a bit heavier, but I guess not heavier beyond the shadow of all doubts. Let me begin by quoting the great Albert Einstein here, who once famously remarked, and I quote, "In the West, we have built a large ship, beautiful ship. It has all the comfort in it, but one thing is missing. It has no compass and does not know where to go. Men like Tagore and Gandhi found that compass. Why can this compass not be fit in the human ship so that both can realize their purpose? Ladies and gentlemen, India, where we are talking about bringing this uniform civil code, is a nation of 29 states, 7 union territories, 640 districts, 5767 tehsils, 7933 towns, more than 6 lakh villages, 22 official and over 1600 unofficial languages. Our judiciary has been making efforts for bringing this uniform civil code, but it itself is confused, as is evident it is practically inconvenient to bring about such a concept in today's politically affected environment of our nation. In a few cases, Supreme Court did give remedy and superseded customs. But at the same time, in many cases it failed to do so and ignored from its earlier judgment where it itself gave the relief. As all of us know, the celebrated case of 1985, Ahmad Khan versus Shah Banu Begum, where the apex court did grant Muslim lady relief under section 125 of the Criminal Procedure Code. But how many of you know that barely a fortnight later came the division bench judgment on Jordan Tyndale versus S.S. Chopra, wherein the Honorable Court, completely ignoring the Shah Banu Begum case judgment and denying Jordan the relief, simply stated a need to have a uniform civil code. And friends, one fact we cannot ignore, that the judgment was delivered by Justice O. Chinnappa, who was one of the judge when Shah Banu Begum judgment was pronounced. This cannot be ignored. Why are we not talking about Jordan? Why only Shah Banu? Because Shah Banu is a Muslim lady and Jordan is a Christian. Why have we sensitized this Muslim concept? Because political motives of our leaders, they are much more important than the national welfare. Can the court speak suo moto only about a uniform civil code and Muslim law and not about the real facts and justice? Why? Now, something about the extent of Part 4 and Part 3 of the Constitution. How can the state endeavor to secure uniformity in the civil laws? And what is the extent? The demands of Article 44, whatever they have to be in tune with Part 3, guaranteeing the fundamental rights. It cannot in any situation supersede demands of Part 3, as is beautifully explained by the Supreme Court, and where I would contradict my learned friend in the case of Mill, from where I quote, to destroy the guarantees given by Part 3 in order to achieve the goals of Part 4 is plainly to subvert the Constitution by destroying its basic structure. Unquote. Friends, these golden guidelines apply to every provision of Part 4. Nothing can be brought forth on the cost of equality or citizens' civil rights or liberties or any religious freedom, and Article 44 is no exception to that. Now let me put one more instance before you to show that bringing such a code in India is just not possible in present scenario. It was in the year 2010 when this harmonious thing we already experimented but sadly could not succeed. In that year, the Marriage Laws Amendment Bill was introduced in the Rajya Sabha to amend the Hindu Marriage Act of 1955 and Special Marriage Act of 1954. The Standing Committee submitted its report on the bill. The government circulated the amendments. The new bill got passed by the Rajya Sabha, in the Rajya Sabha by the UPA government, but sadly, before it could be presented in the Lok Sabha, the house got dissolved. So it was completely ignored. Now my question is, why the politically affected extremists are not talking about this amendment bill? Why only Muslim and Christian and Hinduism and so many vagueness in the debates? It's not that state has not done any effort so far, but we have to understand from this failed efforts that means to reach this goal of a single uniform civil code, these are just not realistic in our nation. Goals have to be achieved by means only, meaning by that social and economic rights, they are the basic rights and essential rights which one have to have. But on the other hand, the civil and political rights, they are the matter of choice. They are subject to various factors like resources, conditions and other feasibilities of the nation. Hence, constitution makers kept this civil and political rights in the part 4 of the constitution, which we call as directive principles and not as fundamental rights. Now, if I take you to the international platform, something interesting had happened in the year 1948, when United Nations had made the Universal Declaration on Human Rights. Interestingly, in 1966, it got split into two parts. Now, one part is containing the civil and political rights, whilst the other one is containing the economic and social rights. That's why, even in the international matters, we have to look for the consequences first before making any resolution, any amendment, or to discuss any matter, or even to create a sense of motion. Friends, for Uniform Civil Code to be really a fundamental principle of equality, what is required is removal of evils done in the name of religion. For example, the whimsical divorce practice, popularly known as triple talaq, the practice of religion conversion of bigamy to escape the punishment. We have to go away with these evils step by step and not in one go. Our goal should be to bring real uniformity and liberating our nation from these evils by taking little realistic steps and not debating over a straight application of a single code, a single legislation which we call as Uniform Civil Code. It's high time that we should rise above these political debates, these political issues in the name of religion, caste, gender, etc. Let's be rationalists. Let's think rationally. Let's not advocate some fantasy-filled concept called Uniform Civil Code in a single go, in a one go. It's high time we should be realistic, because ultimately who's suffering? It's a woman, it's a Muslim woman, it's a Christian woman, it's a Hindu woman, it's a Buddhist woman, it's the hapless Indian woman whose plight got stirred in the judicial conscience while pronouncing the judgments of Shah Banu, Jordan, Sarla Mudgal, and numerous other judgments. So our endeavor should be to go away and remove these evils, and then on this plight thinking of uniformity in a nation like India, and nothing else, no politics and nothing else. Thank you very much.